If you're trying to get into better shape or you're trying to eat healthier and live a healthier lifestyle, it can be difficult when you have an irregular schedule like a lot of actors do. It's harder to build those routines and build those habits when you don't have the typical 9 to 5 job to build those schedules around. That's why I recently interviewed my friend Tyler Buckingham, who is an actor and a personal trainer, so that he could help us learn how to incorporate health and fitness into our weird actor lifestyles. What's up, my fellow actors? Welcome to the Acting Career Center, here to help you learn the skills you need to break into the film and television industry. My name is Kurt Yu. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't already, you definitely want to subscribe to this channel to get more videos on acting, auditioning, and career advice every single week. In today's video, I interview my friend Tyler Buckingham, who is an actor, a personal trainer, and the owner of Buckingham Fitness. I asked Tyler how actors can incorporate healthier eating habits and exercise into our weird and irregular daily routines, because actors do have irregular schedules. Some days we are at home all day, some days we're on set all day, some days we're working our survival jobs. So how can we build an actual health and fitness routine around that type of schedule? I learned a lot talking to Tyler during this interview, and I think you will as well. I've put links to Buckingham Fitness, his website, as well as his YouTube channel down in the description below, so make sure to check those out. And without any further ado, here is my interview with Tyler Buckingham. All right, I am here with Tyler Buckingham, my friend, an actor, a writer, a producer, director, all kinds of stuff in the filmmaking industry, but also a personal trainer and the owner of Buckingham Fitness. What's up, Tyler? How you doing?
Kurt, I am doing well. Thanks for having me, man. It's good to see you virtually.
Yeah, it's good to see you too. And we've known each other for almost 4 years now. I want to say it's like 3.5 years. Yeah. Do you remember where we met?
It was at SunTrust Park. I believe Feldstein Paris was having a Twitter lunch.
Yeah,
and because that's where I met Kellen and Jessica.
Yeah, we met. Was it at SunTrust Park? It was definitely a Twitter lunch, but I can't remember exactly which one.
I thought it was the Battery or whatever. There was a restaurant that we met at. There.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think this video, what I wanted to talk about was specifically for actors, since you are a personal trainer, but you're also an actor, so you understand what an actor's schedule is like, and whether you're working all the time or if you're not working all the time, we still have like irregular schedules. We don't have like, we're not working like the 9 to 5 job, and it's really hard then to fit sometimes health and fitness into that type of schedule. I know, you know, if you really want to do it, you can do it, but it's just more difficult, right? And what we want to do is try to take some of those obstacles out of the way to make it easier for people. So that's why I really wanted to talk to you, because since you do know about the actor's lifestyle and you are a personal trainer, you can help people find the time and find the ways to fit health and fitness into their lives. So before we actually get into like the specifics of it, I just wanted to ask you about how you started Buckingham Fitness and how you started your journey as a personal trainer.
Yeah. I grew up in a very athletic family where we were always playing sports, whether my brother was traveling for baseball or I was traveling for basketball. We just always were active, and I always enjoyed that. My mom was a health teacher. My dad was a marathon runner. And so we just kind of grew up in the world of health and fitness. But it didn't really occur to me how important it was until my freshman year of college. I went to play football and basketball at a small college, and I got injured. And then I gained 45 pounds. And it was like, wow, what just happened?
In how long? In 1 year?
In 3 or 4 months. I herniated a disc in my back. I tore my hamstring and I broke my ischial tuberosity. So your pelvis sits like this, hamstring. when the hamstring tore, it took the bone with it. And then my disc herniated, and I was still eating all the food that I wanted to because it was something that never really crossed my mind. And next thing I knew, my dad and I are doing the dishes next to each other, and I couldn't fit. Like I was too big. And that's when it kind of clicked, and I was like, okay, I need to change something, because it was something that I didn't personally like about myself. And it was from that point, it became a goal of mine. And, then I just became more conscious of what I was eating, when I was eating, how I was eating. And it took probably another 8 months after the injury to like lose a good portion of the weight and then start running again. But I still didn't start Buckingham Fitness until well into my acting career. It got to a point where, sometimes you're really busy, sometimes you're not busy at all. And it was like, okay, what am I going to do to fill that time? Or better yet, what am I going to do to have a little income and have it be consistent? And so I always worked at a gym throughout my whole acting training and everything, because I just wanted a free gym membership. I was like, you know what? I'll work on the weekends, whatever. I'll get my time off if I have, a shoot or something on the weekends. But essentially it was just like, I just wanted a free gym membership. I'll clean some toilets and, clean the floors, just let my gym be free. And then I was working at Snap Fitness starting in 2015 through 2018. And I had a couple of the members just be like, hey, can you train me? I was like, well, I'm not, I'm not certified. That's not what I do, because I didn't want to mix job and career. I always tried to make acting and everything, I wanted that to be the control and always focusing on that. And then this just kind of kept popping up over here. So I was like, you know what? Let's see if it's a really big time commitment and it takes me away from this. And all of my clients know that I'm in the TV film industry. So they know that if there's a audition or set, like they know. And so I really appreciate my clients. I really appreciate, the Buckingham Fitness community that we've been able to kind of create. And so I started doing it, and I started to really enjoy it. And just was able to get a couple clients in the beginning. And then now we're in quarantine. So it's like, well, TV film, we don't have a start date necessarily. Hopefully it's soon.
Yeah.
But until then, you gotta keep the wheels turning. So kind of where we're at right now.
And even before the quarantine, you had already started Buckingham Fitness on the route to going online and doing virtual training and stuff like that, right? And that's something that I think was really smart for what you were trying to do, because, like you said,
Thanks.
you don't want to get to a point where you have acting work, which is fantastic, but you don't want to just like piece out on your clients, right? So to be able to do both at the same time would be perfect, ideal.
Right. And having that flexibility so that, I can be gone a day or two and then come back. Hey, let's pick up where we left off, with those clients that train with me in person or virtually. I'll give them stuff to do so that they're not being left out of the loop, because, and a lot of people don't know this, you can get a lot of really great work with just your body. You don't need a full gym if you know how to use your body and use it to its full potential. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's great. That's great stuff, because that's the stuff that we want to talk about today, and how we can help actors with it. So the main questions then are, because as we mentioned earlier, actors have irregular schedules, and sometimes we had to get up at 5 a.m. and other days we don't have to get up till 2 p.m. or whatever. So how can we get some sort of routine, and then also fitting those workouts into our schedule? I think one of the questions is, does it have to be a long workout? What's a good amount of time to be exercising for it to even be effective? Does it have to be an hour or 2 hours or something like that?
Right. A lot of times, and there's always been the stigma of you have to be exhausted in a pile of sweat, absolutely sore all over your body. every single workout. And it's just not true. The body needs different stimuluses or stimuli. And then also you have to be training towards a specific goal. And that's not to say that general maintenance, like going out and just kind of moving the body around, with mobility and stuff, even yoga workouts, that's not something that I necessarily specialize in, but that's a lot more like routine mobility. There are versions of yoga that go into more intense work, but primarily with weight training or fitness exercises, a lot of people are like, well, if I'm not sore, I didn't get a good workout, or no pain, no gain, or all these things that are just very much extreme. A walk is considered exercise. Walking is the easiest, simplest form of exercise. Everybody should be doing it. As long as, you're not in pain or unable to do that, walking is great. And 30 minutes a day can be really beneficial. Even with, so I have a 30 for 30 group where we do these virtual classes for just 30 minutes. And these are workouts that I coach along with, and they're the only workouts I do. I'm sweating. I'm getting a great workout. I feel it in places that, I might not focus on if I'm always going to the gym and always going to the squat rack or the bench press, because, you got to get your gains and stuff. And there's really just a lot that you can do with your body. And so for an actor's life, we don't know necessarily when we're going to have the freedom of time. We might be very busy. Theater, we might be in a run of a show. If it's a TV set and we're a recurring character, we're going to be on hold for X amount of days, or you're always working. And it might be something that you really have to set aside some time to make it happen. And a lot of times people think, well, if I don't have an hour, I can't do it.
Yeah.
It's like, you can get a great workout in 10 minutes, but at the end of the day, it comes down to, what are my goals? What am I trying to get out of this workout? Is it a cardio workout where, I'm running or jogging on the elliptical, I'm biking? Is it something where I'm doing a lot more strength workouts, and so I need some dumbbells, or I need to increase the time that my body is under tension? There's a lot of different varieties, and if you don't know necessarily what your goals are, which is why I mentioned earlier, maintenance days are really great, because if, Kurt, let's say you're gearing up for a show, or you're in a show, and you're like, okay, I'm kind of on hold, but I've got this big stunt scene coming up, or I've got this huge action scene, and I need to make sure that I'm good to go for 2, 3, 5, 8 hours. You're probably not going to want to go all out the day before or the days prior, because your body needs to be in a position where it's ready to perform on the day. So it really just depends on, and sadly, that's the answer. It depends.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a runner, you probably want to run a little bit more. If you want to be a power lifter and lift more weights, you should probably lift weights more. And it really just comes down to your goals. So as far as timing is concerned, you can get 30 minutes, 5, 6, maybe 7 days a week, as long as it's, there's some variety in there. You can get a lot of really great workouts in a short amount of time. And that's 3 hours of your week. There's 168 hours in the week. 3 hours. I'm guessing that the Netflix shows that most people are watching or binging, like, guilty. But hey, if I take 10, 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, I can really get a great workout and continue pushing towards my goals while still getting my Netflix in.
Yeah, that's 3 hours. When people think about it that way, 3 hours throughout the course of a week sounds very doable.
Hey, let me jump in for a second. If you're enjoying this interview, do me a solid and give it a thumbs up. All right, let's get back to it.
Do you plan ahead where you know exactly when you're working out every single day of the week? And if you do know, for instance, that Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, if this is my routine, it'll work. But this Tuesday and this Thursday, I have a job coming up that I can't do. How do you then do you then factor that in and then find the right time in each of those days?
Always, always. I mean, as much as possible, you know, we want to have our routines, whether it's with our sleep, whether it's with, you know, our fitness or habits. We want to be able to have as much routine as possible. However, in the actor's lifestyle, that's not always the case. And so, for your example, you know, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I know that at 1 p.m., I'm going to be able to work out every single day, all of those days. But Tuesday, Thursday, it's kind of a toss-up. So let's just say you're on a job and you're in the honey wagon. You might get called in. You might have to wait 7 or 8 hours. I think both of us have been there where it's just like, what am I doing in here? And then other days you get to the honey wagon and you go right to set. They get you on, they get you off, and your day's done. So what I would recommend, you know, in those situations is just work on mobility. You know, if you're in the honey wagon, do a couple squats. You know, you can sit down onto the bench, stand back up, do 3 sets of 10, 3 sets of 15. You know, it's going to depend on your fitness level. You know, doing some reverse lunges or some push-ups, things like that, where no, you're not going to get the overall stimulus of, you know, a real body crusher, but also physiologically, we're not in a position to, hey, let me get a great workout in this, you know, closet and then go on to set and be able to perform the way that I need to. And then, you know, the director's going to tell me this, and then Crafty's going to come out with that food. So, you know, I'm going to go get that. And so it's just, you know, we don't have to go intense, like super intense all the time. Sometimes just kind of going through the motions and just feeling how the body is moving and like really listening and being aware of how our body moves can have really great benefits without stressing ourselves so much that, you know, we're not in a position to better ourselves the next day. You know, one of the things that I've had this conversation with a lot of people is they feel like they always have to go to failure. Mm-hmm. Well, every time you go to failure, then it takes you that much longer to recover. So go just before failure, then your body isn't as taxed. You still got a really great training stimulus, but you're not as taxed and you don't have to recover as long. So then, hey, then I can train again. I recovered a little bit more. Now I can train again. Then I can train again. Because rest and recovery are essential. You know, when you're doing bicep curls, you're literally tearing the muscle fibers. And unless they repair and recover, they don't grow. They don't get better. They don't get stronger. They don't become more resilient. Well, same with our body, over our entire bodies. You know, you have to have rest and recovery, which is why for the actors and artists out there, you know, I really empathize with a lot of you on sleep. Sleep is our greatest form of rest and recovery. And sometimes we don't get to determine when we get to sleep or how much we get to sleep. And so especially during this quarantine time, if you can habitualize routinize, I don't know, maybe that's a word. If it's not, Webster's, what up? But if you can create that routine of fall asleep at the same time, wake up at the same time, it's going to have a physiological effect throughout your entire body for mental health, sleep health, your fitness health, your nutritional health. It's just really going to make things work on all cylinders.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I know that it's been something that I've worked on to try to get to bed at a certain time, because I'm not the type of person that can sleep in until noon. I no matter what, I wake up early in the morning. So if I go to sleep late, I know I'm not going to get a lot of sleep. So I have to force myself to get to bed early to make sure I get enough sleep. And I like the idea of what you're talking about. If you do have a long day on set, or if you're rehearsing for a play or something like that, and you just need to move around, you just need to kind of get the blood flowing. You don't have to get a full workout in. Plus, it wouldn't really make sense. Like you can walk out of the honey wagon ready to do your scene drenched in sweat, like completely soaked through your wardrobe. So you wouldn't be able to do that anyway. But it does make sense so that you wouldn't just be spending the full, like, however many hours you're sitting there waiting, just lying on the couch and just looking through lines. So that totally makes sense. Yeah. And so another part of it, we already talked about the actual exercising part of it, and obviously recover as well, but then the nutrition side of it too.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff obviously applies to everyone, not just actors. But
No.
when we talk about it from an actor standpoint,
Mm-hmm.
and again, the scheduling being kind of the obstacle that holds a lot of people back, because it's harder to kind of say, all right, I'm going to get 3 square meals a day every single day,
Mm-hmm.
and I know exactly when I'm going to be eating, because we don't have that 9 to 5 job. So if we're leaving the house at 5 a.m. one day, and then the next day we're home the entire day, and how do we keep ourselves away from, just driving by, and then going through the fast food lane, on the days that we're working. So how do you kind of plan for that? Is it meal planning? Is it whatever?
Right. Well, at the end of the day, regardless, because there's a lot of like nutrition camps where they say this is the best, or this is the best, this is the best. At the end of the day, it has to be sustainable for the person. So whether we're talking about actors or not, your nutritional health has to be sustainable for you. 3-day diets are 3 days for a reason, because no one is still on a 3-day diet. They do it for 3 days, and then they go back to maybe what they were doing, or they transition into something else. But at the end of the day, really, it has to be sustainable for you. So Kurt, maybe you're following keto and that works for you. That's awesome. That's what works for you. That would not personally work for me. I like my carbs. So, and there's nothing wrong with it. That is what works for you. So you have to find that sustainability. So when it comes down to it, does meal planning help? Certainly. But it does go back to, what are my goals? Am I trying to lose weight, so I'm more conscious of the food that I'm eating? Am I trying to gain weight, so I'm more conscious of how much I'm eating? It really, those goals, I know I keep preaching about it, but it really matters, because if you don't know why you are, consuming a certain food, because there are a lot of people out there who are vegan, and I was vegan for some time. It became a thing that wasn't sustainable for me anymore, so I transitioned out of it. But there are a lot of vegans who are very into the environment and environmental health and the sustainability of our animals. And so it's like, hey, that's awesome. If that works for you, great, do that. But then if that is the case, you might go to a set that has lamb for lunch, and it's like, okay, so what are you going to eat? Because you need to fuel your body. And if meal planning is what works for you, great. If going through the fast food line and simply being aware of the food that you're taking in, because now a lot of places have the calories up on the board, which is great. Really, we should be looking at the quality of the foods, so the less processed foods or whole foods are going to be better for you. They're going to be closer to the source of the actual food itself. So like when, you have an apple versus cake, both are very high in carbohydrates, both are very high in sugars. I'm pretty sure 90% of the population is going to know which one is going to be more healthy and more beneficial from a full nutrient standpoint. And so, if you're in line though, and it's been an exhausting day and you feel like having the piece of cake, have the cake. That mental stress, that psychological stress can also have adverse effects. Just like looking at the scale every day, I didn't lose weight today. I didn't lose weight. And you just keep seeing that every day. That's really demoralizing, and it's hard to sustain that. So, sustainability again. And if meal planning is something where you take 2 hours out of your Sunday to prep for the week, that's great. If you're an overnight person, so that every day at the end of the night, you pack your lunch for tomorrow, and this is the food I'm going to eat, and you can stick to that, awesome. That doesn't mean that you might not go through the Starbucks drive-through and grab the Frappa Mochaccino Latte Venti. I don't know. I don't go to Starbucks. But maybe it's a day where it's like, hey, I'm super stressed. I think I this is going to help me out a little bit. Cool. It's, again, what you are ingesting and consuming needs to be sustainable for you. Because again, if you're on keto, you're not going to be doing the breads and the carbs. And if you're someone who loves that stuff, awesome. Let it work with your goals and make sure it's something you can sustain.
I think what you just said about it has to work for you is something that I hope is going to resonate for a lot of actors, because we hear that in our careers all the time. Because just like in acting, there's no one direct path that works for everybody. Right. We all have to find the path and the tools and the techniques and the classes and everything that work specifically to each individual person. So that totally makes sense that it's the same thing in fitness and health.
Right. And to piggyback on that, people in Alaska and people in Ethiopia, they're not eating the same things. Their food sources are very different. And then you have the Mediterranean, and then you've got, Southern America. And it's like, okay, so if all these people have evolved to have these different lifestyles of eating, I like to call them lifestyles, not diets, because you should be eating for a lifetime or a lifestyle, not just for the 3-day weekend. And so if all of these people have evolved and are able, like this, paleo is very much from the earth, if you will. Whereas others, vegan would be similar, but they do have their differences. And it comes down to, okay, is this sustainable for me? Because there are certain things that I've tried, like being a vegetarian, it didn't work for me. It didn't. And so I am not a vegetarian. Yes, it has to be sustainable, and all over the world, people eat differently, but they can still have really great health. And primarily that is the result of eating really whole foods. The closer to the source you can be, the better, from a nutrient density standpoint. And, definitely enjoy the foods that you eat. Eating should be treated as a privilege, not an obligation. And a lot of times people are like, well, I can't eat that because of this. I can't do this because of that. And it's like, well, maybe we change it to, I want to eat this because I want this. As opposed to weight loss, think about it as health gain. And a lot of times people look at the scale. I'm sorry, I'm going on a tangent here, but
this is great.
And people look at the scale like it has value, and it's like, this is some arbitrary number that just says how much gravity's effect is on your body. Now, are there certain health risks dependent upon that weight? Sure. And that's when, you'd want to go to a doctor or a healthcare professional to really help you out in understanding it. But as far as, and this is a quick sidebar, BMI is a terrible standardization, because every football player who's, stacked 225, 6 feet tall, like really in really great shape, they're going to be overweight on the BMI scale. I was 20 pounds ago, I was overweight on the BMI scale, and that was when I was probably my strongest. And so it's careful which places you look for information from, because a lot of them can either A, skew the data, B, not show you the complete data set. C, a scale has no intrinsic value over you as a person. And a lot of people and I'm very guilty of this. I've struggled with body dysmorphia. I have stretch marks. I have, looked at the scale on a daily basis, and it was more of a psychological stressor than it was like an enjoyment. And so it goes back to sustainability. And I will continue preaching that, because if you cannot do it for you, and that doesn't mean that it doesn't come with discipline and structure and things around it, but at the end of the day, if your goal is to run 5 miles every single day, but you're only doing 1, and you're pushing yourself to a potential injury or fatigue or overall exhaustion, that's not sustainable. And it's okay if you don't set the bar super high. I mean, my brother's a 7-time national champion in triathlon and duathlon and a 2-time world champion in triathlons. You think I'm going to go and compare my running times to him? I mean, he's my brother, so I have to. But no, like it doesn't make sense. So, you know, it's got to be sustainable for you. It's your journey, and it needs to be something that you want. Other people, like, I can want all the best things for my clients, but if they don't implement the actions, just like in acting with acting coaches, hey, I want you to succeed. I want you to be that series regular. But if you're not going home and doing the homework and practicing your monologue, practicing your accents, whatever it is, it might not be in your best interest.
Yeah, and I think one of the other things that you just mentioned, I mean, the whole time about sustainability, and also about making sure you find the things that do work for you, and then if they don't work, not to beat yourself up about it, right? Because it's not necessarily your fault that it didn't work. It's something that may have worked for somebody else. But if it's not working for you, feel free to let it go and try something else, and not to shame yourself for not having the results that you're seeing in other places, right?
Right.
So,
and it's also, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, you mentioned results, and it's, you know, have you given yourself enough time to see results? People think, well, I ate less food today, I should be 2 pounds less. And it's like, doesn't necessarily work like that. And when you look at the science of it, you know, you got to look at it along this graph, because if it took you 30 years to get to this point and you're only looking at 1 week, I got bad news for you. You know, you haven't given it enough time. And as someone who suffers greatly from impatientitis, it's what my family calls it, because we're so impatient, you know, you got to slow down and look at, you know, am I feeling better? Am I more confident? Am I lifting more weights? Is my overall, like, psychologically, am I just in a better position to succeed? Because it's all connected. You know, life is a giant wheel, and if we have a broken spoke, but we're trying to just crank through it, it's probably not going to be in your best interest. And so, yeah, you got to find either what works for you, or go to somebody that has the tools that you're seeking.
Yeah.
So,
and that's perfect transition, because that's what I wanted to talk about next. So
cool.
Because people sometimes need that extra bit of motivation, or if it's not motivation, they sometimes just need that information of how what they can do to best use their time to get a workout in during the day, or to best get the right nutrition that their body needs. So if they wanted to go to Tyler Buckingham and Buckingham Fitness for help, I know you have something called your 30 for 30, which you mentioned earlier briefly. So let's talk about what that is, and how that's helping people.
Yeah, so the 30 for 30 group is a $30 per month virtual class. We do 6 classes each week for 30 minutes. So $30 for 30-minute workouts. Pretty straight to the point. But what we look at in this is using just body weight. You know, I teach classes from there. That's the big setup. But I show people, like, hey, this is how you can use your body and just your body weight to create adaptation, to create a stimulus, so that your body does have a place to progress from and into. Because if we're not progressing, just like with acting or with our memorization with lines, you know, if we don't have that progress and that steady increase in abilities, you know, we're just going to be stagnant. And so what the 30 for 30 group does is it shows people how to use their bodies from a functional movement standpoint. I am very big on mobility and resiliency in the body. You know, a lot of people have come to me with injuries, and in fact, I'm wearing my pain-free performance specialist certification shirt. So I'm a pain-free performance specialist, and we cover the 6 foundational movement patterns: the squat, hinge, lunge, push, pull, and carry. They're the 6 things that the body, every single body, biomechanically does on a daily basis. I push a door open. I pull it towards me. I squat to pick up my dog's poop. I hinge to sit on a chair. I am carrying my groceries, and I lunge, to catch a ball. Those are things that our body naturally does. And a lot of the times people are just worried about the biceps. People just focus on the biceps. So what this body weight class does is really show, hey, you can get a really great workout while enhancing your daily activities, because everything we do can be replicated out in the real world. Now, some of the core stuff, you might not just drop and do a plank for no reason, but it does create, resiliency throughout your entire body and strengthening and mobilizing the whole of your body, just like strengthening and mobilizing the whole of your life from a sustainability standpoint.
I think that's really cool, because you're really touching on a lot of the obstacles that people have, because you just showed you do the whole training right there in your bedroom, and you're showing that people, one, they only need 30 minutes a day, two, they can do it at home, and three, they don't need anything other than their own bodies, right?
Use what you got. And even when, clients are coming in for workouts, we replicate movements in the gym so that we're stronger in our lives. It doesn't, and do we do some bicep curls? Kind of, sometimes. But really, if that's an aesthetic you're going for and you're, Chris Hemsworth preparing for Thor, he's doing some bicep curls for sure. But not everybody needs to look like that. So we need to strengthen and mobilize and build a resiliency in our bodies throughout our foundations and our foundational movement patterns, the 6 that I just mentioned. And then you look at, okay, so aesthetically, do I like where I'm at in certain areas? Perhaps I work on this area more. Or if I have pain, if I have knee pain, that's a really common thing that I see, and something I personally have dealt with, that without knowing how my body works and how it's supposed to function, I'm able to get out of pain faster, I recover faster, and I'm able to get stronger. And I love the word resiliency. So because that's, all of us people, we're very resilient people. And our bodies should be the same way, because injuries aren't fun. They're not. I've broken 22 bones. I've separated a shoulder, blown out a knee, the back, hamstring, all the things. And since I've learned more about the body and how it operates, I've never been healthier. I haven't. And that's just having an awareness of how my body moves throughout space, but also how it's supposed to move from a biomechanical standpoint.
That's awesome.
So, that's what.
So
you've actually 30 for 30 group.
You've broken 22 bones more than I have. So knock on wood for me.
I win.
So the 30 for 30 you mentioned is it's only a 30-minute a day workout. A lot of people will be thinking, oh, I don't know, is that really enough to get into shape? But I think you mentioned earlier that's the only workout that you're doing, right?
Yep.
And you're a personal trainer, and you're just doing a 30-minute workout every day.
Yep. Well, and again, it goes back to your goals. Like, my goal right now is not to, push towards sports performance. If it was, would 30 minutes be enough? It could be, but it would need to be more specific than what I'm currently doing. With these classes, I'm trying to increase stability in my body. I want to be more mobile, and I want to have more strength and resiliency. So we do a lot of tempo work, Doing push-ups, that's great. Doing them slowly, that's a lot harder. Try 3 of them. Go down for 4 seconds. You'll see what I'm talking about. And that's only 12 seconds of work, but you're going to be like, what's happening with my arms? And so, yes, but I'm also utilizing what I have and not trying to, I don't use resistance bands. People just do squats up and down, up and down, up and down. But if you hold a squat for 10 seconds, your knees start shaking, your body starts shaking. You're like, what's happening? Well, your body's using itself to its fullest capacity, or at least in a more complete way than what it's used to. And so that's how you build upon what you already have.
It's taking me back to doing the wall sits in high school gym class. Right?
Yep.
All right, so that really sounds like it would be beneficial to a lot of people. So if anyone's watching who's interested in the 30 for 30, I'm going to put a link to your website down in the comments or in the description of this video so they can check it out. You
That'd
can really start it at any time, right? It doesn't have to start at the beginning of the month, but it would be good to start at the beginning of the month.
Correct. Yeah. So we're in our 4th week now, and there are a bunch of people who can't make the live workouts, which Monday through Friday, 8 a.m., Saturday at 8:30 a.m. Total time is like 45 minutes with explanation, warm up, and everything. But you can do the workouts at any time. You know, if you want to join now and start back at day 1, go right ahead. There's a private link. You can follow along. You can just look at the workout. If you don't want to follow along, if you don't want to hear me talk all day, which believe me, I get it. I hear myself during these workouts. But if you want to just follow along the workout and look at what movements you're supposed to do, awesome. Again, it's sustainability. Like if you want to do 1 workout a week, 2, 3, all 6 of them, cool. But make sure you're getting your rest and make sure you're doing something that works for you and when it works for you. Because that's the nice thing about it. The live workouts, yep, you'll get that one-on-one interaction, or at least the group setting interaction, and I can see you and give you some corrections if necessary. Or you can watch it later and like, hey, I'm doing this on my own time. I've got some time in my honey wagon. Maybe I just do the warm-up, or maybe I just do 5 minutes of it so I don't get super sweaty, or maybe I just kind of move through it and don't try and push myself too hard. It's your time. Use it well.
I love that because it's something that's available for everyone, because I know there's going to be people who don't really want to be in that group setting, who really would rather do it themselves. And because you make the recorded videos available, they can just follow along themselves on the recorded versions. But then there's also people that want that class setting, that want the community of it to help push them to move forward. And with that, you offer that as well, because they can just join in live 6 days a week to do that, right? So that's awesome. So again, I'm going to put that link down in the description. Nice. So if they want to find out about the 30 for 30, they can go to your website. They can go to the same website if they're interested in just some personal coaching and personal training on fitness and health as well.
Yeah. So I do some consultations or goal setting strategies. If it is something where you want to work one-on-one, I always want to do a consultation first, just first and foremost, to see if we're a good fit. I've gotten this person results, but you might not like the way I coach. No hard feelings. There are some acting coaches, some people don't prescribe to that style, or that's not part of their tool belt and they don't want to go that way. So, hey, it's no hard feelings. And this, at the very end of the day, not only tells me if I want to invest my time in you, but also if you want to invest your time in me, and furthermore in yourself. Because, acting coaches or teachers or personal trainers, nutrition coaches, whatever, we're not babysitters. We are people who will give you the tools to succeed. And then together we're a team and we go towards it, and we got to be there for each other. So, yeah.
Awesome. All right. That's really all I wanted to talk about today. I think you shared a lot of fantastic information that people are going to find helpful. And the last couple things I wanted to talk about are more acting related, because these videos are primarily for actors. So since you are an actor as well, let's kind of pivot more towards the acting side of it. Is there an acting resource that you have found particularly useful, either recently or in the past, that you want to share with everybody, be it a book or a or a podcast, YouTube channel, website, or whatever?
Right. Yeah. So when you said that, the first thing that popped into my mind was this book by Harold Guskin called How to Stop Acting.
I know of the book. I've never read it, but I know of it.
It was very early on in my professional career here in Atlanta, and it was just one of those books that, and I'd heard these phrases said before, but the way that he verbalized it it just clicked for me. And it was like, oh man. And just real quick, the biggest thing that he talks about, you know, apart from memorization, because you got to know your lines. At least that is my belief. You got to know your lines so that you can please the writer and the director. Yeah. And obviously you have your improv background, but that writer is probably going to want you to say their words. Speaking as a writer, I would like my words. But he talked about, you know, having this marble statue, and you chip away at what doesn't work, at what isn't necessary, and then you begin to build this character from the quote unquote wrong choices. But there aren't any wrong choices. There are stronger choices than others, or there are ones that work more in alignment with the director's vision. And that's, you know, perfect tie-in with fitness. Is there are no wrong choices, or fitness and health, there are no wrong choices. It's, you gotta do what works. And if the director likes, you know, a certain way you set a line, it's like, cool, let's keep doing that. But until you have that preparation to be flexible and malleable and be this piece of clay, maybe not so rigid as a statue, but this piece of clay that the director can mold and, you know, deliver that line, that's that sweet stuff. So I really enjoyed the book.
Yeah, I've saved that book in my like Amazon favorites list, and I've just never bought it. But then I saw that book at my photo studio. Rob Prolgo has a copy of it at the photo studio, so I think I'm gonna steal it one day and just
nice.
and read it at home. But I'll put a link to that book down in the description as well for people that are interested in it.
So good.
And so my last question is also about acting, about the acting career. So you've been doing this for a while. You moved down to Atlanta from Michigan
to Chattanooga to Atlanta. Yep.
And so what is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned in your career as an actor, be it on the technique side or just in the business side of things?
Right. Well, when we first met, I believe I had long hair. I believe I ended up having hair down here, and I'd see those pictures and I was like, man, what happened? But there was, and I think this is more from a lesson standpoint. There was a role that I was up for that I ended up being offered, and then they said, you know, are you okay with X, Y, and Z? That wasn't a part of the audition, wasn't a part of the, I mean, it was in the script, but it was talked about, not visually going to be a happening. And then they said, hey, these things are going to happen. And so it was one of those, like, you can have the role, but you also have to have this. And it got to a point where internally I was not okay with it. You know, and on one hand, it's like I've been auditioning for this for a month, massive star power, massive, you know, billing for me. On this side, I'm like, internally, I'm fighting myself. And one morning I woke up and became sick because it was stressing me out so much. And I ended up turning down the role and it ended up with me, I've never auditioned for that casting director in 3 years because of it. You know, it was a whole thing, and my agents and I talked about it. They had my back, which I greatly appreciated, but trust your gut. Like, you know, if there's something wrong on a set, or you don't feel safe, and don't get me wrong, it could be nerves, but at the same time, man, a feeling like that. And I don't think the movie has come out, and I don't think I've seen much about it, but for me, for the way I want to run my career and be remembered, I'm really glad that I didn't take that role. As tough of a job as that was to not accept it and not do it, I'm in a much better headspace because of it. And so definitely, you know, trust your gut when the role seems a little bit too much for you.
Yeah, I think I like that. And I think a lot of actors, even though you're not being specific about what exactly it is, I think all of us can think of things that if we saw it in an audition or as part of a role, we'd be uncomfortable with it. And sometimes people that are kind of newer in the industry or just starting out in their career, they're so afraid to turn things down. They're afraid that they're going to let people down. And I'm glad that you talked about that your agent had your back, because actors do need to know that the agents, most of them, if they are good agents, most of them, they're going to be on your side with everything. And if you tell them you're uncomfortable with something, they're not going to push you towards it. They're going to say, all right, you're totally cool.
Right.
You turn this down, we'll get the next one.
Yeah. And the director even reached out after. He said, hey, I heard what happened. I just want to let you know, like, I completely understand. And that really meant a lot to me, because, you know, internally, like, I felt like I let everybody down. And the reason I brought up the long hair was because after that role, I cut it. I had it, and it was going to be for that role. And then it was like, you know what? I don't like this identity that either the industry or I have presented for myself. And so it was like, you know what? I can control my look, at least with my hair, and get rid of it. And then that opened the door for new opportunities and new roles. And, you know, it was one of those things that I don't have to continually go back and relive what happened, because this should have been something that should have been taken care of in the breakdown. You know, please do not audition for the role if you're not okay with this. And it wasn't there. And, you know, there's no ill will. It's unfortunate. And I'm glad that it happened to me as opposed to happening to somebody else and they were taken advantage by it, where I was able to get out of that situation. And someone who was more comfortable with it took the role. I'm sure he did a great job, and it's like, all good. My career will go on. You don't have to have every single role. Yeah. I'm sure we've all done the, if I book this role, then I book this role, then, I'm going to fly here and then fly, and then nothing happens, or, you know, maybe just one of them, and it's like, you got to live your life, you know, and so it's all going to be okay in the end.
Yeah, that's great. Great lessons learned. And it also just ties right back to when talking about the patience part of it, right? And you don't have to accept everything that comes your way. You can be patient about this whole thing and the career in itself. All right, man, this was awesome. It was a great conversation. Yeah. I thought we were going to talk for like 20 minutes, but this was well beyond that. And it was a lot of great stuff, both on the health and fitness side and also on the acting stuff. So I'm sure we'll do this again. Until next time, signing off, and stay safe. Say hi to Kaylee.
Will do.
And we'll hopefully see you soon. Hopefully see you in person.
Yeah, in person.
All right.
Bye, buddy. Good to see you, man. We'll chat later.
All right, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. I want to thank Tyler one more time for joining me. Remember to check out his YouTube channel and his website, linked down in the description below. One more thing before I sign off. If you're interested in learning about my audition preparation process that's helped me book over 50 movies and television shows, then I've created a free audition cheat sheet that you can download from the Acting Career Center website. All right, that's it for today. Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and I hope to see you on set one day.